Hi folks, thank you for coming to Back to Basics for Season 3. Today we're going to speak with Matthew Brownstein, and we're going to find out what he's all about. But today's topic, what we're going to talk about is hypnotherapy. Now, the question is, does it cure us or does it adjust our mindset? Well, that's what we're going to go and talk about, what he's all about and what he's trying to go and accomplish. So let's get on to Back to Basics to understand our guest for today on Back to Basics.
Hi, my name is Matthew Brownstein. I was just a guest on the Back to Basics podcast, and Girish Bali asked me to say a little 30 seconds about my experience. Yet I said I want to be authentic and not read a script, so this is me being authentic. It was a great experience. Girish, thank you for having me on. I really sincerely believe that anybody who's listening to what you're doing is going to benefit. Because everything you asked me was great. I got to be myself and teach the message, share the message I really wanted to, and you made that possible. So thank you very much.
Today we're going to speak with Matthew. We're going to talk about hypnotherapy. Now, does it cure it? Does it not cure it? What is it all about? Well, a lot of people, they think that they lie down on the sofa or something else and then you get hypnotized. Is that what it is? Well, we'll find out more and more details about that from Matthew. So let's stop talking to me and let's go to Matthew. Matthew, how are you? And thank you for coming to Back to Basics.
Doing great, Girish. Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you again for coming here, Matthew. But before we start about the hypnotherapy and what is it all about, does it cure it, not cure it, all that fun stuff and what you do, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
To me, Back to Basics would refer to fundamentals, core principles, the things that are most important. I know for me, finding the common denominator amongst anything has been most important. Like I got into the field of hypnotherapy because I wanted to know what's the one way that I can truly help people. So getting to the core principles to me would be what that's all about.
Yeah, thank you again, Matthew, for answering that question, and thank you again for coming on the show to help me and support me on my show here. You just said helping people. Was that the motive of getting where you are today, or was it maybe to help you to be a better person?
I would say it's both and yes, because as I help others, I become a better person. As others become better, I become better. I have seen that we are really all in it together in the most intimate way, in the sense of oneness, that we're really all part of the same species, the same organism, the same planet. And yeah, when I would say woke up spiritually when I was 19 years old, I had a really profound mystical experience of oneness. And it was pure peace and love and bliss and joy. It was everything anybody would ever want to feel. Like everything we do
Mm.
is an attempt to feel that. And I mean, that to me seemed sacred. It seemed divine. I didn't know what it was, but I dedicated my life to finding it again. Yet in the instant that I was experiencing that in that wonderful night, which, happened many times after, but the first time it did, I wanted to give it away. I wanted to share it with people. So that's kind of my answer is like yes and both. Of course, I want more of all that's good. Yet I've realized that the way to have it is to give it away. Like
Mm.
it's one of the deepest principles, back to basics, like the law of giving and receiving. If you want something, give it away. So I just decided, let me start teaching peace. Let me start teaching healing. Let me tap into love and teach more about love. And then the more you give, the more you get back. So kind of win-win.
Yeah. Thank you again, Matthew, for answering that question. Let me ask you this, and on my intro, as you just heard me, is it really that I lie down on the sofa and then you just cure me? Is that how it usually works? How does it usually work? What do you start? What are the things that people they ask you uh to cure or even just to modify a little? Maybe that's the word I should be using.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll jump in first with the word cure. It's more of a medical term, and most hypnotherapists are not medical doctors. We're not psychiatrists or psychologists necessarily. So I wouldn't be using the word cure. I might use the word transform.
Mm.
The word help is perfectly good. I feel like I'm a facilitator of your process, and I work to help you to get to your goals. So, what position is your body in? Like you're in a sofa, maybe. In my offices, I usually tend to have recliners. It's just more comfortable. but it's nice for you to be comfortable and relaxed. Yet there's going to be an entire intake where I'm going to get to know you, build rapport, understand what your issue is, and understand what your goal is. And in our school, we just call that column A, column B. Where
Mm.
are you and where do you want to be? Once I get a sense of your goals, if I know it's within the scope of my practice, something I can help you with, not necessarily cure, but help you with, I can assist you on your journey back to wholeness or to health or to prosperity, whatever it is, wherever you want to go,
Mm.
your mind can get you there.
Mm.
I'm just the one who helps you to tap into your own mind power. So it
Mm.
wouldn't necessarily be a cure. However, if we talk about psychosomatic illness, meaning the mind causes the illness, then usually working in coordination with your physician, having a referral from your doctor. If
Mm.
I'm working in the mental side of it, and
Mm.
if it's totally psychosomatic, you can see miraculous, quote, cures, but literally using the word miracle very intentionally, cures that transformation shifts that happen faster than you could imagine. Because if your mind is causing it, the question is, how quickly can you change your mind? And if
Mm.
you can change your mind like that, then you can really resolve psychosomatic illness just like that. So it depends on the issue that you're talking about. But the question is like, does it cure? We would say, does it work? There's ample research to say it works for a incredible variety of issues. Does it
Mm.
work for every single thing? Well, no, we still have human suffering, so we're working on it. But is this part of the solution towards eliminating pain and suffering?
Mm.
Absolutely. And that's why I do it.
Thank you. So, Matthew, if I give you two examples, okay, and briefly just tell me what are your process on that. The two major issues that I've heard from other people is obviously grieving, right? And the other is quitting smoking, right? So give me some few ideas of how people they should transform and what process you go through in order to do that.
Sure. So two things, grief and smoking, but we could grieve getting rid of our cigarettes, so we could even combine the two. But now let me start and really honor grief, because grief means somebody's hurting. It means they've most likely lost something very valuable to them.
Mm.
And we don't necessarily know what that would be when we say grief. It could be a child, but it could be a divorce, losing a job, losing a home, losing your youth. All right. So in generally, when we work with grief, it is a process of listening, first of all. Is just let the person say what they need to say. Now, this isn't talk therapy, so we don't just sit there listening and letting people speak, just for an hour, 2 hours. We're going to start to use different transformational modalities to help to get the mind to shift. And again, it's going to be a column A, column B model. So, column A, how are you now? Well, I'm sad. I feel lonely. I'm angry. Whatever the emotions and beliefs. Really, when I'm listening to a intake for grief, I'm listening for every single thing the mind is doing
Mm.
that says why you're not happy and at peace. And it's understandable. If you just had a major loss, you're not happy and at peace. You
Mm.
almost feel like you don't deserve or shouldn't be happy and at peace.
Mm.
Or is it possible to be? But then I get to column B. What are your goals? How would you like to be?
Mm.
Well, when it's all said and done, I would want to be at peace. I would want to laugh and smile and be happy again. I want to feel healthier again. I want to feel more energy.
Mm.
As long as there's a willingness to shift from column A to column B, I can help anyone who's willing to and who's mentally capable of making these kind of shifts, which is
Mm.
most functional people.
Mm.
Uh, I can get them from column A to column B with grief and loss sessions, usually within 2 sessions. So
Mm.
it's a 2 session protocol. And essentially, it's not that you don't feel your emotions anymore. It's not that you aren't aware that something is really missing from your life.
Mm.
Yet a shift in the mind helps us to see things totally differently. For
Mm.
instance, somebody might be saying, God, I just wish they weren't in my life anymore.
Mm.
Another saying, I wish they were in my life, thinking what's outside of you is what makes the difference, right?
Mm.
Having it makes me happy, not having it makes me happy. Well,
Mm.
which one is it, having or not having? It's just you, right? So if you say, I'm going to be happy no matter what, I'm going to be at peace no matter what,
Mm.
knowing that we have that power to do so, that's really what it comes down to. That
Mm.
leads to your other question about smoking. Knowing that nothing outside of us controls us is a
Mm.
huge factor. A quick story to answer the question on smoking. I had a husband wife that came in. He couldn't wear his dentures. He had a really bad gag reflex. So
Mm.
she sat in the room while I helped him with that. Within about a half hour, I got him to be able to wear the dentures. Then he
Mm.
actually then went to formal hypnosis wearing the dentures. Short story there. we resolved it. She called me a few days later and said, my God, you resolved that in one session. And she said, and I stopped smoking. And I said, I didn't work on you. How did you stop smoking? And she said, I just kept hearing you tell my husband over and over again, nothing outside of you has power over you. And once he got that shift, that dentures cannot make you gag. And once she really got in her mind, cigarettes have no ability to make me smoke them. Once the mind shifted, both of those people were instantly, I use your word, but I put in quotes, cured of their issue. So to get someone to stop smoking, again, it's a thorough, compassionate, non-judgmental intake. Decide, understanding like, where are you at with this? Do you want to stop right away? Do you want to stop in a week or two? Do you want to like taper off or just stop right away? Both approaches can work quite well. Generally, if somebody gives me or one of my high-level graduates, because we're at Institute, 3 sessions, I would say, not hardcore statistics, but best honest guess, 90% of those people with a 3-session protocol will stop smoking. How it works, we don't have time to go into, but it does work.
Yeah, thank you again, Matthew, for giving those examples about the 2 items. But let me ask you this very briefly, if you don't mind, because I'm pretty sure people will ask this question. Suppose if you are trying to cure or rewire or transform, I think that's the word you used, eventually they're going to go back, right? Because technically they're not transferred. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
So I think you're saying after we do a certain protocol with somebody, will they end up regressing back? Will they go back to the original issue? It depends on the level the hypnotherapist is working at. So let's say somebody had headaches and we are medically approved to work on those. You know, the doctor has said, yes, it's safe. We have a referral. So with that disclaimer said, if let's say they have stress-induced headaches, but the real stress is just their anger. So they're really angry and that gives them a headache. Whenever they get angry, they get a headache. Why are they so angry? Underneath our emotions are our belief systems. So if I said, finish this sentence, I'm so angry because I feel like I am powerless, helpless, trapped, out of control, gonna lose my mind, right? So it's those thoughts that actually cause the anger, which cause the headaches. So thought causes anger, causes headache. Once you understand that, then you realize, oh, I just have to work on the mental level. So if somebody came to me to get rid of those headaches and all I did was use hypnosis for pain management, would the pain come back? Well, of course, because we got rid of the effect, but we didn't get rid of the cause. The cause is all those negative beliefs and emotions causing the headache. So if you only treat the symptom, the symptomatic relief will last for a while, but eventually it's going to come back. Or if we're so effective to make that symptom go away for good, the underlying anger is going to manifest somewhere else. So it's really not a good idea to treat symptoms. Better off just clearing those beliefs, clearing those emotions. And underneath the beliefs and emotions are memories dealing with relationships, right? So why do you feel powerless and angry and trapped and helpless and out of control? Well, somebody probably made you feel that way in your past. Once we resolve that underlying relationship, we forgive it, we bring it back to peace and understanding and love and compassion. Like we really go to the root, back to basics, like the very root of what's happening in your subconscious about why do you have that headache? It's actually, once you go deep enough in this field, you see it's an unforgiveness. Right? And then once you just translate headache equals unforgiveness, that is just, let me get to the root of, so now we're talking, like if you think about all the miracles in the Bible, right? Jesus is supposedly doing all these miracles. And every time he does, he says, your sins are forgiven you. Why was I'm not going to get to sin here, right? But why would forgiveness be such an important part of that formula? You know,
Right.
most of us know forgiveness is important. But once you stop treating symptoms and you just get forgiveness deep in the subconscious mind, the whole card house falls. All the internal structure that was holding that mess together drops away when we just let go. Then you return to peace. Now your thoughts are saying, I'm powerful, I'm confident, I'm capable, I'm more than good enough, I'm happy, I'm healthy. Oh, and I don't have headaches anymore. So then you don't have to repeat that process. Once true healing occurs, it does not have to be repeated.
Yeah, Matthew, thank you again for explaining that, because some people will ask that, is there side effects? And technically, I mean, I think that this is a side effect. So till you find out the cure, the cause for it. Not cure. I'm going to stop saying the word cure, but uh, find out the root cause of this. And I think you have explained that. So thank you again for explaining that. You touched briefly about religion, and you and I spoke very briefly about that. So how do you bring these two, spiritual and religion and hypnosis, together as one big lump sum lesson for a person? Does that make
That's
sense?
a great, a really, really good question. I appreciate it because I'm a religion major. That's what I went to university for. And it was because of my spiritual awakening. I needed to know what happened to me. Something so divine, happened to me. I wasn't religious, but religion had answers. They talked about God and light and love and truth and healing and enlightenment. I'm like, I want that. I want more of that. I want to give more of that away. I was looking for a profession where I could dedicate my life to that. It wasn't the priesthood. I'm a monk at heart, but I wasn't meant to be in a monastery. Kind of am, but it's still like I needed a profession, right? And I was in Chinese medicine. That's what my background is. Two different Chinese medical colleges, but still, like there's got to be something more that integrates my spirituality, any real religious belief. Like it has to be a universal healing method that is available for anybody, not just doctors and psychologists, but there has to be a principle that can heal anybody, right? How did Jesus do it? Like if he did it, how did he do it? So I asked that question and I kept asking until I found the answer, which is a shift in the mind.
Mm,
When you really get down to what's happening in a true miracle, something
mm,
shifts in the person's mind. And
mm,
again, there's that cascading effect of healing through all the different levels. And I know it's a mouthful, but uh, the answer to the question is for me, we are all spiritual beings.
mm,
Religion, like the Dalai Lama, he said, my religion is kindness. So if you get down to the basics of all religions, it has to be something that moves us away from suffering, or what's the point of it, right? And it has to be something that brings us back to love and compassion and kindness and loving kindness and all the virtues of religion. Hypnotherapy embodies those when done by somebody who's coming from that space.
mm,
And as far as like certain religious, like in the Christian beliefs, you might say, oh, the Bible is against it. It's totally not true. First of all, the word hypnosis is not in the Bible. It wasn't invented until like 1854.
mm,
So the word's not in the Bible. The Bible does say you shouldn't cast spells. Well, I don't cast spells. It said you shouldn't predict the future. I don't predict the future. It
mm,
does talk about people going into altered states all the time. In fact, a deep sleep fell upon Adam, and
mm,
nowhere in the Bible does it talk about him waking up again. So you
mm,
might say hypnotists aren't putting people into sleep, we're waking them up. Right? I'm all about healing and enlightenment. That's a waking up process. So I found I can easily dispel any Christian or religious belief that might say what I do is anti-religious. To the
mm,
contrary,
mm,
my school is the sales funnel into God. I don't always say that to all my students because not everybody uses the word God, and I respect that. But what I mean by that is the sales funnel is I'm going to advertise. You're going to hear about what I do. Those who are interested will come through the training and they'll say, oh, I like this hypnosis. I like hypnotherapy. I like these topics. But once they realize this is really a profound spiritual journey,
mm,
then then the synthesis is what your question is about. The synthesis of hypnotherapy, religion, spirituality, service to others, it all integrates in a way that lets you be yourself. It doesn't say you have to be a mini Matthew or you
mm,
have to,
mm, mm,
you have to abide by any religion. What I love about the process is when a graduate is, excuse the way I'm saying this, spit out of the other side of that funnel where they're
mm,
out in private practice and they're helping others, they do it their way. So if they're a massage therapist or a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, or anybody can do this as a profession. You bring all of who you are to it. So if you are deeply religious, you'll attract clients who are religious and you'll get to speak in those ways in a profession. It's a beautiful thing. So, as you can tell, I run a school. I own one of the leading schools in the country. And I'm so much more about like helping people to know about this as a profession because of your amazing question is it lets you be fully yourself in the deepest spiritual ways.
mm. Yeah, thank you again, Matthew. But there's a reason why I asked this question, because honestly, I was kind of fascinated with lump sum into one thing to give you a different feeling altogether. But But the reason why I ask this question is when you say the word religion, people, they walk away and they get scared because they don't want to be maybe be stuck in that bubble. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Oh, sure, sure.
So
Yeah.
that's why I asked that question. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I feel like I've become more of a universal teacher that I can speak to both. So if you're religious, you'll feel very comfortable with me. If you're not, you'll love my atheistic agnostic side, right? Because I can
Right.
speak that talk to, and I understand those arguments, and I understand why people would feel the way they do. So to me, I'm not religious. I'm really not a religious person. I've studied the scriptures and I can quote them, but I would just say I'm deeply spiritual in the sense that peace, love, joy, bliss, and oneness are my religion. Like I close my eyes, I
Of
feel
course.
that right now. Anybody can feel that, and everybody wants to feel that. So usually, if the word religion turns you off from inner peace, sorry, but I didn't mean to turn you off from inner peace,
Right.
right? There's so much light and joy inside of a human being. And it's the great saints and sages are just living that. So you don't have to go into religion, but if now meditation is not such a woo-woo term, right? When I was into it 30 years ago, you didn't really talk about meditation all
Okay.
that openly. And if you did, people's eyes glazed over and they didn't want to hear it. But now, if you say mindfulness, you're like, oh, I practice mindfulness. Now you can almost say meditation. You can certainly say yoga.
Mm.
Why are so many people getting into yoga and meditation? Well, it makes you feel happy and healthy and whole and grounded and balanced and clear and relaxed and peaceful and good and kind. It's pragmatic to me. It's just beneficial. Like the more people who get into this stuff, the better off we are. So yeah, words like religion and God can definitely turn people off. But I just use the word God to describe an experience of unconditional, all pervasive love. And again, that's what we all want to feel. So call it whatever you like. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm glad I've learned to tap into it.
No, but Matthew, thank you again for answering that question because there are people who just walk away when they hear the word religion. And
Mhm.
I want people to understand that, yes, we are living in the new world, that people will not understand religion, which is totally fine also. But thank you again for being comfortable being a sport to
Mhm.
answer these questions. So there's a new segment that we have actually started on season 3, which is the rapid fire round. In this rapid fire round, we'll ask you some questions or even sentences, and briefly, whatever pops in your head, a word, maybe a small story about it, we'll just go through that if you're ready with it.
Sure, go for it.
Awesome. The first word, or I should say the first phrase, is going to be helping people.
Love,
Oneness,
love,
law of receiving,
love.
okay, transform,
I'll try to elaborate. Compassion,
compassion, okay. I don't know if this is a word or not, but I'm making it up, okay. Untransform,
unforgiven, not forgiving,
which column are you?
neither.
Neither, okay. You want to explain that because you explained column A and B and you said neither.
Sure. Um, in the realm of, I don't want to go too deep, but you got me going with like be radically honest and like, hey, love isn't a column. Peace isn't a column. So who am I? I am love. I am peace. I'm not A or B. I'm not one column or another. It's like you're not good or bad anymore. You go beyond that. So it's not right or wrong. It's not happy or sad. It's not dualistic. Love. So you said oneness. Oneness and love. It's not dualistic. So which column, A or B? Love isn't any of those things.
Hmm. Wow, thank you so much for that. Next one is going to be listening.
Because of love. Um, we teach listening in our school. So being a good listener, just really sincerely caring about people.
Hmm. Uh, the next one is going to be a little funny. I'm not really sure if it is funny or not, but it's a movie. It's called Inception. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, I love that stuff. I wish they made more movies like it. But as far as you want short answers, but as far as the depth of that movie, the idea that there's multiple layers, yes. The deeper you go into your subconscious mind, you get to see how deep the rabbit hole of who you are really goes. And it's the deeper inner mind of a human being that's actually where the real value is.
that?
Like that's where all the love and wisdom and goodness is found in our very core, back to basics.
Hmm.
So I love Inception for that aspect of that metaphor
Awesome. Cause.
and effect are one.
Okay. Religion.
Spirituality.
Acupuncture.
Good stuff.
Matthew.
Brownstein.
Okay. And the last one is back to basics.
Good job for doing that.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for playing the rapid fire round. Hopefully you enjoyed and didn't really challenge you much. And most of the answers that you gave was love. And I think I should have added the word called love in that rapid fire. So if I wanted to play that game again and added the word love, what's the answer after that?
You.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. That love is speaking to love. Like if it's really all love, if we're really all love, then just call it what it is, right? So when somebody says like, "Who am I?" It's like the one asking the question. It's like you are that. That's why you said Matthew Brownstein. It's like that. It's just a name, but it's as intimate as we could be with the idea of I am I, you are you, but we're part of the same beingness, and that's the camaraderie, the solidarity, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. That makes us all good with each other, right? So I appreciate we can talk about that here.
Of course, yeah. So Matthew, thank you again for playing the rapid fire round. Hope I didn't challenge you much, but thank you again for that. Let me ask you this: is there a book or something that you read that it resonates with you, not related to this, maybe relating to this, but something really touches your heart, or I should say love your heart?
Yeah, sure. I'm a Course in Miracles student and teacher, so I read A Course in Miracles every day. When I first encountered it, it's Christian in overtones, and I wasn't impressed with some of the people who had introduced me to it. But the more I studied it, its message of forgiveness, its teaching on how miracles are mental, how it's always about a return to love. Every day, those thoughts are better than my thoughts, always, right? Unless I'm gloriously happy and just in an amazing space. If not, that book knows better than me. So whenever I'm not feeling good, which could be any morning, I start reading that. I was like, it just reminds me there are absolutely truths that lead us into a really good space. And yeah, A Course in Miracles for sure. And for somebody who might be like, I'm interested in it, it's not always easy to just pick it up and read it from the beginning, like the Bible. You just kind of pick it up and start reading on your own. So I love, as a primer to A Course in Miracles, Mary Ann Williamson's A Return to Love. It's a good way just to get introduced to the course before you start diving in yourself. But that's the most influential book in my life. And
yeah, Matthew, thank you.
Years.
Yeah, Matthew, thank you again for that. Yeah, we briefly touched upon the movie called Inception, right? There are other movies out there. Inception is one, and Matrix is one, and they sleep and they divert into some virtual land or whatever it is, right? And what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's realistic as to how they kind of portray what the hypnosis is?
Yeah, I'm not sure you tied hypnosis in at the end there, but I would say generally speaking, and then I could say hypnosis speaking, but generally speaking, I believe that's a very accurate model of what's going on. The idea that the world is an illusion, that what we see is just a big Maya, it's just a big facade. Absolutely. So when I started having profound mystical experiences, eventually it started involving out-of-body experiences. So I've been out of my body more times than I can count. And I know I've had those experiences. I can't prove it, but subjectively, I've had out-of-body experiences where I've walked through walls or floated through ceilings or just moved through objects. And when you slow down when moving through an object, it's nothing but energy. There's nothing but light vibrating into form. Quantum physics knows that. So my major in college was comparing quantum physics and Eastern mysticism. So everything that you hear in Buddhism and Hinduism, and then what you hear in quantum physics, if you get to the basics of what they're both saying, essentially, there's a quantum field, there's an underlying oneness, there's an energy that manifests into form. So what we're seeing through our bodily eyes is not reality. It's really not. In fact, in hypnosis or in neuro-linguistic programming, we talk about a phenomenological reality. The idea that, it's a big word for the idea that you don't see what's outside of you. Your eyes have light come in your eyes. That image is flipped over, so your brain has to re-flip it over. But you're not seeing the outside world. You're seeing imagery in your brain. But you don't hear my voice. Your eardrums vibrate. that sends nerve impulses into your brain. You're hearing stuff in your brain. And as a hypnotist, I can manipulate that for the good. So I wouldn't use the word manipulate. I can transform what you're doing in your mind so that you perceive a more loving, beautiful, abundant, prosperous, happy reality, right? So the idea that this is the matrix, that's all an illusion, like money is an illusion, right? And people are programmed that there's not enough money, I got to work hard for money, having money is the root of all evil, and all that silliness. You can shift those thoughts, and then abundance starts flowing in. So money is an illusion, so have as much of it as you want. But if we think this, it's real, what's happening outside of us, we really feel like victims. But if you realize the outside movie, the matrix, is influenced completely by your mind, then all you have to do is know how to use your mind, and you make the matrix as beautiful as you want, right? Because if it is a projection of your own mind, then create a rockin' life, right? Create a life worth living. It's only when we're in victim consciousness that we would think the other way, that matter actually has power over us. Like I said, the cigarettes don't make you smoke them, right? The dentures don't make you gag. Money doesn't make you poor. Like, you are doing all of that to yourself. And to me, it's a very empowering message, actually, to say, yep, it's the matrix.
Matthew, thank you again for answering those questions. It is definitely the virtual reality world that we're slowly getting into. Actually, we're kind of here, right? And people are talking about metaverse. So before we leave, briefly, what are your thoughts on metaverse? This is like the new world that we're getting into. And you just talked about briefly about Matrix too. It's like an illusion they're getting in there. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so one of the times I was living in a Zen monastery, they brought up a question, and this was about 1996, so it's kind of before the internet, but computers were just coming out. And they asked a question there: would the Buddha use computers and use the internet to teach the Dharma, to get the good word out there, the message out there, to teach how to relieve suffering? And that age, because it was such a new idea, computers and the internet, I just said, look, if you want to see a tree, you don't have to see it on a computer screen, go outside. And I left and I sat out under a tree. But now that I understand the power of the internet, and I'm not resisting it, I'm using it right now, awesome. So but the internet also, so you see all the cute puppies, and then you hear about all the horrors of humanity. It's just a reflection of our mind, right? So the metaverse is going to be a reflection of our mind. And we're going to do the same silliness that we're doing in the physical world, or in the internet world, or in the metaverse world. Either way, the teaching has to be love, forgiveness, kindness, peace, be good to others, stand in solidarity together. If we get those messages in the metaverse, the potential. I mean, I can see doing hypnotherapy trainings completely in the metaverse. Like, I'm doing them 100% online now through our school. It's licensed by the Department of Education. So I could be literally licensed by the Department of Education to teach hypnotherapy in the metaverse someday. And if that can help to transform people's lives, and then get them to take the headset off and go sit under a real tree, that would be awesome. I'd be honored and happy to help people in that deeper level of illusion. That's like 3 levels into Inception, right? The metaverse is so far removed from, quote, reality. But to me, reality isn't what we perceive. It's who we really are. And once we see there's not much value in the stuff on the screen, what's valuable is what's inside, and a tree and a plant and a deer, and being on the beach and seeing the moon and realizing you're on a planet spinning around a big fireball at like 30,000 miles per second or something. Like, sci-fi is you're on a planet spinning around. We're on a spaceship right now. People don't get it. So I'm not a fan of living in some alternate reality when this planet is really beautiful, but we are kind of destroying it. And I think more internet, more metaverse could detach us more from the beauty of what this planet is, and why we're really here. So it can be used in beautiful ways, and then I'm sure it's not going to be used in beautiful ways, knowing humans.
Matthew, thank you again for being a sport on answering all these questions. And I know metaverse might not be the thing, but I think that's a new way of teaching and interacting with people, different worlds and different areas too. So thank you again for being a sport. But before you leave today, do you have any last words to all my Back to Basic listeners? And how is your journey on Back to Basics too, on top of that?
Yeah, well, I'm loving the journey with you. It's a pleasure to talk to you. It's a pleasure to get to know you before we did this. And as far as last words, whenever I'm on podcasts, people ask me for this. And I talk about my first philosophy professor. I said to him, that was so transformative. I love what you did for me. And I love learning from you. He said, good, stay on the path. So as those 4 words, stay on the path. Knowing there is a path, knowing that we all have some purpose, some mission, something truly valuable we can do for the world. Once you know your mission, stick to it and do only that. So I found for me, I have a calling to be a teacher, to be a hypnotherapist, to offer all these type of teachings. And if I do anything else, it doesn't work. So know who you are, know your path, and do only that.
Yeah. Matthew, thank you again for coming on Back to Basics, and thank you again for supporting me and sharing your small nuggets about everything what we have touched about. I mean, religion is one thing that we are very touchy subject, but you made it so comfortable that people will understand in a basic way when it comes to that, and there's nothing wrong with it. So thank you again for being here, Matthew, and thank you for supporting me.
Thank you, Girish. I appreciate you. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. So guys, today we spoke with Matthew, didn't we? And we talked about briefly about, well, religion, spirits, but there's a lot of one word that we actually talked about, oneness. We talked about love. And actually he mentioned love several times in the rapid fire round. So how about listening to the episode, and mostly all his answers were love. Now, as usual, as always, there's a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and hopefully my guest, Matthew, will like the quote. The quote is, "You use hypnosis not as a cure, but as a meaning of establishing a favorable climate in which to learn." Now, we do understand the word cure is not the right word, because he did say that doctors kind of use it, medical physicians uses it. The word that we're going to be using today is transform. So guys, thank you again for coming to Back to Basics, listening to us. And as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and I will see you next time on Back to Basics.
Censor the answers. I like the rapid fire thing. I was just teaching in class today on Rorschach tests and how we perceive things, and it was so when you're like rapid fire, I'm like, oh, Rorschach, and then I know how to pass those. It's just put the word love in your mind and only answer from that space. You'll never say the wrong thing.
Hi guys, thank you again for tuning in to Back to Basics and listening to the excellent episode that we had today with our guest. You know, with your love and support, we do need you to at least rate our show, review our show, because it does make us stronger day by day, week by week, as I usually say on my episodes. And there are 3 things in this episode that it makes a hit for me, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. So guys, take care, God bless, and remember, everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and see you next time on Back to Basics.